Hello and welcome to today's session. I have a fabulous guest here with me, and we're going to talk about sleep. So Denise is going to speak about the sleep performance connection, and she is she's an award-winning therapist, right? She's got a company called JoySpace, and she is been awarded with the best mental health support service for corporate women in 2025. And I am so excited to actually have her here today, and that she is coming in to do this talk with us. So thank you so much, Denise. As for myself, if you haven't met me yet, I am the founder of the EmpowerMe Hub, and Denise is actually going to be one of our specialists inside the EmpowerMe Hub. And if you don't know about it yet, we will actually explain a little bit more later on. And there's also an opportunity for you to join in into the hub itself. It is a membership, and it's got so many amazing experts and speakers in there. And we also have monthly live events. So you don't want to miss this. So very welcome, Denise. I'm sure you can explain a little bit more what your background is. But I think the reason why we put this talk on is really, I think it's for individuals, and it's also for leaders in organizations, because I think we need to understand ourselves, how sleep can help us, and also could be to the detriment if we don't get enough sleep. And then when we are a leader in a team and we are looking after, even if we have colleagues and peers, how can we actually spot signs? And this goes beyond just the sleep, perhaps even regarding other mental well-being challenges that are coming maybe through the sleep, and we may not even understand that. So Denise, I'm very curious to hear what your research says and what your tips will be today. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Sabine, and thank you for having me. And hi, and welcome to everyone watching this either live or on the replay. As Sabine so graciously mentioned, I'm Denise. I'm a sleep therapist. In a nutshell, today, we're going to talk about the sleep performance connection and how leaders can spot the signs and support their teams. But it's not just for the people managers or the team leaders. It's also for us individuals in trying to understand a little bit more about sleep. Why is it important? How does it affect our work life as well as our personal life? And how can we get more of it? Basically, we all want to sleep better, right? Anyway.
Brilliant. Take it away.
I will. Thank you so much, Sabine. So before jumping in, hi, I'm Denise. I'm a cognitive behavioral hypnotherapist, and I specialize in sleep and stress issues. Why? Because a long time ago, when I was in my own corporate career, in my mid-20s, for the first time, I met insomnia. And I didn't know at that moment in time what it meant. It just completely caught me off guard, as I'm sure it does many people. And if it wasn't for my manager at the time, I would say very much ahead of his time, to put the connection between my sleep issues and stress and worry, probably I would have never known. Now, I want to mention that I did love my job. It was a very good environment to be in, but there was stress. So you don't have to hate your job to struggle with stress. That is my message here. Anyway, years have passed and I've decided to retrain. So I've left my corporate career back, and I am now fully dedicating my time and my energy to helping people in the corporate world worry less and sleep better. I do so via evidence-based approaches, and you can ask me more questions at the end, what all of these entail, but I just mentioned a few here, such as CBT, hypnosis, and the likes. So let's jump right in, right? I wanted to start by introducing you to 3 of the most commonly used or thought sleep myths. And I would like to debunk them for you. So as you can see here, we have 3 of them. There are many more. First one is about this magical sleep bank, where we think that sometimes we can add sleep and deduct sleep. Like if I have a big event, I will sleep in advance or if last night was a huge company presentation and then dinners and everything lasted very late in the night, don't worry, I will catch up on sleep at the weekend. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. The sleep we lose is lost, is gone. It doesn't come back. There is a little bit of research coming in the last few years, in the last year to be more exact, where it says that yes, we can catch up to some of the sleep we lose, but it's not possible to, lose 6 hours, catch up 6 hours. It just doesn't work like that. A second myth that a lot of people come to me and ask me about is alcohol. And they think like, okay, if I have a few glasses of something before bedtime, I tend to fall asleep quicker. While that might be true for many of us, actually, you are going to sleep worse. Sleep quality is very much depreciating after alcohol consumption. What does this mean? It makes our sleep more fragmented. It reduces the amount of deep sleep, which is exactly the type of sleep we need the most. That's when our bodies recover and our memories get consolidated. And we have maybe a more agitated sleep and a more dreamy-like state in non-REM, which is the time when we actually tend to have the dreams. Some people say that they have more vivid dreams, almost like weird dreams after they've had a little bit too much alcohol. So yes, it helps you fall asleep, maybe. Does it give you a good night's sleep? Unfortunately, no. The next one is sleeping only a few hours is a sign of strength. We live in a society that believes, jeopardizing sleep is a good idea and that we should all be sleeping 5 hours or less, wake up before sunrise, do a run and a marathon and a meditation before 7 a.m. Yes, it might work like this for a subsection of the population, but this is not the norm. And if you don't fit in that category of people, please know there's nothing wrong with you. You simply have different sleep needs. Sleep deprivation is a very serious thing to consider here. And unfortunately, we know a lot about that. In the research, we know that having a poor sleep ongoing or being deprived of sleep, it actually causes many health issues for us. Okay, so we have that. This is our agenda. Just as a very quick summary, we are going to talk about the benefits of restful sleep. Why does it matter in the workplace? How to spot it in our colleagues, in ourselves, in our team members, and how to talk about it and make a difference, right? That's why we're here. We're trying to understand this connection between sleep and performance and how it can be improved. So sleep is essential for our health and well-being and for us being human. It is essential. It's not a luxury. It's not a special thing that only some people get. It is something that keeps us alive. There is a reason why, to some extent, there is still, torture by sleep deprivation, because we cannot function without sleep. The way research has showed us the effects of sleep is basically by showing us what happens when we don't get enough of it. And this is just a short list of the things that can happen. First of all, of course, fatigue. If you don't sleep well or if you don't sleep enough, you feel tired, right? Well, you are not just fatigued, but there is also a high chance of you having more issues with the sleep-related hormones, such as cortisol. It affects our metabolism. It affects our well-being. If you think about the lack of sleep and you trying to, for example, lose weight, it will be an uphill battle. We know that poor sleep, I'm referring to sleep that has been ongoing for a while, not because you've lost one night 3 years ago. I'm talking about sleep deprivation, if you would like, or poor sleep over a long period of time. It affects weight gain. It also reduces our libido for both men and women, and it can lead to premature skin aging. When we are not sleeping well, we don't look very well on our face, right? We might have dark circles under our eyes. The skin might look a little bit, less hydrated. And there are many other reasons why this is happening. I'm not going to go into the detail of them right here because we will be here for a while. What happens when we are not sleeping well and we have to go to work? we experience cognitive performance reduction. So we have diminished attention, we are more prone to errors and difficulties in our concentration, we don't have as many bright ideas, our decision making is a little bit slower, and we will talk a little bit more how to spot that in your colleagues in a second. We also experience a weakened immune system and a higher risk of developing chronic disease later in life. Diabetes, heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia, there are so many linked to sleep and how we sleep in our years leading up to old age. Also, maybe some of you know this or you haven't experienced it yet. If we are not sleeping well, we have a lower pain tolerance. Makes pain feel much more intense for us. It also makes our mouth more dry and increases plaque around our teeth, believe it or not. And of course, which we all know, over here, I'm sure we would experience more irritability, anxiety, depression when we are not sleeping well. I wanted to highlight something here, and that is we are yet to discover, from a research point of view, a mental health condition where sleep doesn't play a role. So just think about that for a moment and think about how important it is that we actually get some sleep. The benefits, I think it's very obvious. It's the reverse of this. We will experience, restful sleep, body recovery, memory consolidation, and all the beautiful things, including stress reduction. So why does it matter? Why does sleep matter in the workplace? These are a few bullet points of recent research from 2023 and 2024. And once we share this presentation, we'll be able to highlight the resources here. Basically, 1 in 5 people in the UK aren't getting enough sleep. We know this. And 64% of working adults have agreed that poor sleep contributes to their feelings of stress and burnout. If you think about the numbers, it's a little bit scary, right? So not only that, but 14 million, more than 14 million of us suffer in silence with undiagnosed sleep disorders. And we are trying to plow through. And it's not always the best thing to do. I would call it a recipe for disaster, to be honest with you. If we think about the cost it has on our economy and maybe on our businesses, many working days are lost every year due to insufficient sleep because people are unable to come to work or they have sick leave and things like that. And this kind of cost can get to up to 15 billion pounds a year. Now, why stress management matters in the workplace? Fairly similar, because many of us, UK workers, report feeling unable to cope with workplace stress. Doesn't matter if it's a great work environment or not so great work environment, stress is prevalent in all of our lives. And we sometimes are unable to cope with it. 79% of employees are experiencing moderate to high levels of stress. And I want you to know that younger people and women tend to have the highest stress levels. And 63% of UK employees are now showing symptoms of exhaustion and disengagement. And some of them would go on to experience burnout, which is not a great place to be at all. And we should aim to prevent it at all cost, if you would ask me. So this sleep and stress, why I've linked them both, is because they have an interconnected relationship here. If you see just on this screen right now, stress can increase anxious thoughts and worries, leads to sleeplessness. We will have a lower ability to cope, and then it goes back into higher stress. So it can be seen like a vicious cycle, but at the same time, pay attention to the arrows. They are all pointing at each other. And that is because they have an interdependent relationship between each other. Just having anxious, worrying thoughts can increase the stress as well as increase sleeplessness. How many of us haven't, woken up at 3 a.m. thinking, I forgot to do X, or the presentation or the emails that I was supposed to send. And then we go through them in our mind at 3 a.m. thinking, okay, what is going to happen? And from that thought, we get into God knows how many other thoughts, and I call it a washing machine of thoughts, which in the end increases our stress and increases our sleeplessness. So we are even more prone to stress tomorrow, and we don't get the good quality rest that we need and deserve. So they don't work in isolation. This is what I'm trying to say here. They work very much interconnected. Does everybody who struggle with sleep struggle with stress? Not 100%, because we all are individuals. Some of us have better coping mechanisms than others, but I am yet to find somebody who is not sleeping and is very capable of managing stress the next day for a long time. Because for short periods of time, we are all capable of doing that. But for a long time, I'm still to meet somebody like this. Obviously, I haven't met all the humans in the world, but I just wanted you to know that. Maybe it's useful information. How to spot sleep and stress issues. I mentioned them briefly a moment ago when we were looking at the overall effects of poor sleep or sleep deprivation, but I wanted to go a little bit more in detail for the ones specific to the workplace. So if somebody in your team or yourself are having trouble sleeping, you would probably see, early red flags, so to call them, irritability and mood swings. So somebody who would be in much more of a negative mood, the chances are that goes up. Less positive mood. They are more likely to snap or react, so to say, out of character. And a way for you to spot that would be to watch for sudden behavior changes for people that you've known for a while, and they seem to be much more, not necessarily calm, but more balanced. And then for the last few weeks or months, they seem to be much more irritable or in much more of a polar opposites of moods, right? They seem to be okay in the morning, but by lunchtime, they're already fed up. As I mentioned, cognitive performance decline is a very telling symptom. So people who are not sleeping well, as I mentioned, for a long period of time, and this I'm referring to over 3 months, they tend to have much slower decision-making processes happening for them because there is much more of this brain fog, right? So they have a little bit more trouble in problem solving. The concentration is not what it used to be. Fogginess, as I said, or mistakes in judgment, happen. If you think about environments where there are machinery involved, you would see people who are, making mistakes, costly mistakes, or even accidents happening. And their tired brains, they struggle to think laterally, trying to think of creative solutions. It's just not something that is happening organically for us, because if we are sleep deprived, we don't have all of the, let's call them mental juices flowing. We are trying to drive a car in like the, in the fog, right? When you can't see anything and we're trying to drive, and it's almost like we're driving blind. And they also have fewer aha moments in brainstorming. So if you are responsible for a team that works with innovation, for example, they wouldn't be as innovative as they normally would be. Errors across the board, not just missed deadlines or reports or emails. I'm talking about quality, safety. Many accidents happen in the workplace because people are tired. If you look at many industries, even like aviation and transportation, many of the accidents that happen and have very dire consequences can be linked to sleep and the poor sleep that the conductor or pilot had. And morale dips when these things happen, right? Everybody has a little bit of a reaction to it and they feel down, which is not great in a team environment. And previously, we were talking about this stress-sleep loop. So the lack of sleep increases the chances of inability to cope with stress, and stress increases the likelihood of poor sleep. they work in tandem. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't want you to think these are golden rules applicable to each and every human. These are the majority of people would have these symptoms. Some people will be able to be, coping with stress during the day and sleep okay during the night. However, over time, that also takes a toll. So although we are able to cope with stress in our early 20s or 30s or even 40s, that doesn't mean that it will not take a toll later in life, because ultimately being in a constant state of stress or fight or flight, as we call it, will have a detriment on our health and well-being. Because we're experiencing more stress, absenteeism and burnout risk climbs, and we should all be in the business of preventing burnout. Breaking the cycle takes time, and the best way to do that is with recovery time. Now, I just wanted to briefly touch upon burnout. The presentation is not specifically for that. I'm very aware of that. But I just wanted to take this opportunity to say that when we get to burnout, it's almost as if a brick wall has come straight to your face, and it is very difficult to recover from it. It's not the go on holiday for 2 weeks and you'll feel brand new and you'll come right back. It is a very debilitating experience. It takes months, years, and it is not something we can fix in 21 days or less. I've seen something on social media that was making this advertisement that they can cure burnout in 21 days with this miracle app. Let me be very frank and say that I'm very skeptical about that. I don't think that is possible. The research points to the opposite direction. So let's all try to prevent burnout at all costs. It will be much better for all of us involved. Anyway, coming back to the presentation, what else can you look out for? Communication breakdowns, right? The messages are misread or forgotten. There might be misunderstandings that normally don't happen in your team. And then it just feels like, they don't get along as they used to, people in your team. Or maybe you don't get along with people on your same level as you used to a few months ago. That is because a clear talk needs a rested mind. And unfortunately, if the mind is not rested, we are more likely to jump to conclusion, assumptions, judgment, comparison, and it doesn't really help our communication at all. And physical health slips. So lower immunity, obviously, we know sleep affects our immune system. If we have a decreased immunity, then we tend to have more sick days. Or we can develop, as I said, long-term health conditions. Well-being overall is a performance metric, because if the team is well, then the performance will be there. We cannot ask a team to perform at its best when the members are sleep deprived, stressed, God forbid, burnt out. So my message here is to remember for yourself and for your colleagues that rested teams are safer, they're more resilient, they are better equipped to handle stress, they're happier, and they outperform their sleep-deprived peers. If you think about nurturing an environment within your team or within your company at large, think about how can you ensure that your team members, your employees, your fellow colleagues feel okay to come up to you, to talk about their issues and feel supported. Because if we manage to create this environment for them, we can ensure that they will be part of rested teams who are safer, more resilient, better equipped to handle stress. We cannot eradicate stress from our lives because it also fulfills an important job, but we can definitely learn how to manage stress and how to cope with stress in a helpful, healthy way, and make sure that we get the rest that we need during those nights. So how to do this? How to set up our teams for success? It might sound simple, but lead by example. So I've put here a few bullet points. By no means is this an exhaustive list. I'm just trying to get your own creative juices flowing as to how you can set up your team for success. So let's start with balance. We all talk about work-life balance and how much we want to achieve that. And some research out there suggests that we cannot reach that balance because something has to give. It's either work gets priority this week or personal life next week. I am not yet convinced by that approach. I still believe that we can foster balance in the workplace. So having, healthy hours and boundaries, not emailing our colleagues at midnight because they might get a knee-jerk reaction that they need to reply at midnight, although that was never your intention. So think about things like that and offer more flexible or remote options. We all know during and after COVID, this whole hybrid remote model was very much introduced across the board. And that is quite helpful for some of our colleagues and employees out there. And encourage breaks. Encourage people to actually take their lunch break. I know it sounds simple, but when was the last time you had your break away from your desk and you ate away from your computer? That is a very simple thing you can do, but it's a very important one. Second point here is to provide them with education. So providing sleep, stress education, like today, the Lunch and Learn, or some workshop around this topic. Teach sleep-friendly habits and routines, and I will go a little bit more in detail about these in a second. Promote device-free time. So we talk a lot about winding down time when you go home before bedtime and how you should be away from your devices and your computers and your phones and things like that. And whilst that is something each individual can do in their spare time, we can also do that at work. We can promote the idea of coming to a meeting without your phone and being present in that meeting, and having, instead of a maybe 1 hour meeting, it tends to be a little bit shorter because everyone's attention is in the room and we can get to decisions quicker. Number 3 is to build a supportive culture. So talk about sleep, stress, mental health, not in a superficial way, but actually ask your colleagues. I will give you a few pointers in a minute if you don't know where to start. And if you are in a position of, either people manager or an HR manager, enable mental health days when needed. Give people the chance to take a mental health day, or point them to employee programs and resources and coaching that may be available within your company. All I'm trying to say here is that we should go away from this hustle culture mentality where sleep gets deprioritized. It's almost like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. If I had a nickel every time I heard that in my corporate years, and actually bring it into the conversation of how important it is and how good life is when you actually get the rest you need, how clear your mind would be, how much more likely you would be to enjoy your work and feel like you're making a contribution to your work when you are rested and rejuvenated after a good night's sleep. And of course, number 4, probably it is across the board in everything on this slide, but prioritizing clear communications. Ensure there is one-on-one with the people in your teams. Provide resources for improving interpersonal skills, or ask for resources. If you yourself know that you are struggling with either sleep or stress, or you would like to learn more, ask your HR managers for support and have this, open conversation. And there is always help out there. And I always say this to the people who come to me. And I hope that you will understand it as well. And that is, we don't offer medals for suffering in silence. Nobody's going to come and give you a medal for saying, great, you have not slept in the last 3 years. Well done, you. So don't do it, please. If you're struggling, reach out to whomever you think will be able to support you, but don't suffer in silence. On a much happier note, how to talk about it, how to make a difference. So start by encouraging people in your team or encouraging yourself to do something nice for yourself, like mindfulness, or like talking about managing stress in general. How to do that? So let's say asking more, I wouldn't call them direct, but more open-ended questions. And if you see someone who doesn't look like themselves, they maybe have a different appearance, they look like they're lacking focus, or as I mentioned, they have a much more irritable reaction these days, sit down and ask them, how are you managing stress lately? Is there anything I can do to help? Could we have a conversation? I'm not saying go straight to somebody in an open forum and say, hey, you don't look very well today. That will not be helpful. But you can always take someone separately and say, look, I've seen you don't look like yourself in the last couple of weeks. Are you okay? Is everything okay? How are you sleeping? And they might be taken aback, thinking, okay, why are you asking me about my sleep? And you can tell them, well, you see, there is a connection between sleep and how we perform as humans in general. And I am, curious, and I would like to be able to help you in some sort of way if this is happening. Or is there anything that we can help you to improve if this is you as a HR or team leader asking? Is there anything we can do as a team? Is there something we can build around the way that we are all managing our workload, prioritization of things? Some things are must-haves, others are nice to have. Even just having an open conversation with someone can, allow them to think about it and understand, wow, I really need X. I really need to sleep better, or I really need support with my workload, or whatever it may be. The one that I personally liked the most when I was talking to fellow HR managers was this question of, are you okay? I've noticed some changes within you. Is everything okay? And maybe they will say, yeah, sure. Everything is fine, and brush it under the carpet. The key here is not to try to jump into somebody's life with iron boots. It's about consistency, and it's about seeing how they are in the next few days. And whilst you're seeing them again, ask them, like, I noticed there are some changes. Are you okay? This consistency of willingness to help and to ask them questions will not go unnoticed. And maybe the first time they will be a little bit like, wow, you're asking me something that feels private. But just being there for their journey and asking that question again would allow them to say, oh, actually, maybe it would be a nice person to speak to about whatever I'm being consumed by. It's always about asking with kindness and compassion and leading the way, as I mentioned a few slides ago, leading by example. You can open up in your team meetings, for example, and say, look, I'm Denise, and I've been sleeping really poorly for the last few weeks. I'm sorry if I was grumpy and irritable. There's been a lot going on. I just wanted you to know that I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better sleep. Yes, that takes courage to say that in an open forum, but it is our job as leaders to lead, right? So I mentioned mindfulness, and I wanted to do a little exercise with you. So what is mindfulness? Mindfulness gets thrown around a lot these days, but the definition is very simple. It's about the awareness of the present moment, right here, right now, without judgment. So in this moment, you're listening to this or you're looking at this presentation, and that's it. You're not judging it. You're just present here. And that is mindfulness, being present in the right here, right now, without judgment. Why is mindfulness important and why it's been thrown around a lot is because we know for a fact it reduces stress and improves sleep quantity and quality. How does it do that? When we are in the present moment, right here, right now, anxiety and worry are in the future. Right here, right now, I'm safe. The deadline is tomorrow or the day after. Right here, right now, I don't have a deadline. I don't have a saber-toothed tiger chasing me. And that is the beauty of connecting with the present moment. And that's why I was mentioning a moment ago to actually have your lunch away from your computer or your device or your presentation or whatever it is that is consuming your work life. Because you can be mindful with your food and it doesn't take a long time. It can be 20 minutes, and that 20 minutes can actually help reduce stress for that day. You see, stress is like an on and off switch. We have an autonomic nervous system, all humans do, and we're either in fight or flight or in rest and digest. Fight or flight is a threat, right? We're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. We are no longer, luckily for us, we don't live in caves anymore. But the stress is the same. If it's an email, if it's somebody who jumps out the closet and scares you, the nervous system still perceives it as it did way back when. So we just want to make sure that if we are stressed, for whatever reason, we can also de-stress. It's like turning on the light and turning it off. And mindfulness can help us turn it off, just for a little bit, maybe, but turning it on and off, that is where we are trying to be. We don't want to be in a constant level of stress, nor can we be in a constant level of rest and digest. We just need this flexibility of on and off. So how to do it besides doing it while we're eating, because it's something called mindful eating, and I would recommend you look it up if you've never heard about it. Let's focus on our breathing. We have many techniques and we can breathe and focus on the breathing. And it's very simple. We all breathe right here, right now, but how many of us are actually aware of what is happening in our lungs? The technique that I like to teach everyone is the 3-6-9, meaning it's 3 seconds inhaling through your nose, holding it for 6 seconds, releasing it for 9 seconds gently through your mouth. There are many breathing techniques, many. This is just one of them. And I would encourage you to give it a go. Doesn't matter which one you want to try, put it into Google or YouTube and just try one. Just promise yourself that you will try a breathing technique if you've never done it before. Even if you have and you do it regularly, just do it once more because it's not going to hurt you. There are other ways of doing mindfulness, and that is body scanning. So you're kind of closing your eyes just for a moment and you're going through your body and just checking in. It's almost as if, with your eyes closed and you're just hi to your body, just trying to pay attention and see if there is any tension. And then you can go one by one through the different sections of your body and scan if there is any pressure, tension, pain. You're not trying to change anything. You're just trying to be aware. The one that I wanted to try right here, right now, and I hope you will join me, is something very simple, which is called progressive muscle relaxation. Again, you can research more about it. You can find different meditations and guided ways of doing this. For now, as you're, here watching and listening, just wanted you for a moment to clench your fists very, very hard as you can, all the power, and then let them go. and then doing it one more time and clenching with all the power you have, and then let them go. That is tension release of your muscles. Progressive muscle relaxation. We can do that for all the muscles we have. And as we practice that, the moment we let go, you will feel a sense of relaxation. And that is another way of doing mindfulness. Relaxing the muscles will help relax our nervous system, going into rest and digest, and will help relax our overall mind and body, meaning we will be more able to cope with stress and we will have better decision making. Okay, I hope I gave you a little bit of a taster. So your turn. I have 2 questions for you that I would like you to ponder. What will you do to improve communication and sleep in your team? Will you do anything? That's entirely up to you. But if you decide that, yes, I am going, what are you going to do? And my second question is, which of these few proposed techniques feels easier for you to do right away? Maybe it's breathing. Maybe it's clenching the fists, letting them go. Maybe you're doing that with, your glutes. Which one do you think feels easier for you to implement? Just as a reminder, these were the ones. And just wanted to quickly jump into the notice 3 things. I think I still have a few minutes. So notice 3 things in mindfulness is noticing with all of your senses. So let's say with a pen, right? You are taking a few seconds of your life and you're going to look at your pen, right? And you're describing it to yourself as if you were a 5-year-old. Like it's whatever color it is. Mine is gray, it's light, it feels quite plasticky, doesn't really make a sound. I cannot eat it, so I'm not gonna do that. Not gonna use my taste buds. I can smell it, it doesn't smell of anything. How long did that take me? 20 seconds? Probably less. What does that do for you, noticing 3 things? So let's say a pen, a notebook, and your phone. At the moment you're doing that and you are experiencing something with all of your senses, even if it's 20 seconds, you're not thinking anything up here. You're just present with whatever object of choice you have. And that also helps bring you back to the present moment, to the here and now, being mindful, being safe in the right here, right now. I hope I gave you a taste of what sleep deprivation can look like, how to spot it in your colleagues, in yourself, in the company at large. I hope you have a little bit more understanding how sleep and performance are so deeply interconnected, and gave you a few techniques that you can go right ahead and practice. My job here is to try to raise awareness and help you worry less and sleep better. So thank you, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much, Denise. This has been amazing. I really enjoyed this conversation. So many amazing tips that I had to actually just make notes and create key takeaway here as well. One of the things that came up here was that you mentioned there's no such thing as a sleep bank. And that kind of shocked me a little bit because I always thought, I can just, sleep a little bit longer on the weekend and catch up. So that's quite a big insight and something to, really take to heart. I'd love to, I guess, as an alternative to understand how can one recover from a few nights of bad sleep or going to bed really late and getting up really early?
It's a very good question. So as I mentioned, there is some evidence that we can catch up on some, of the hours we've lost. So let's say if you sleep 1 or 2 more hours at the weekend, you would feel probably a little bit better than a few nights ago when you lost the night, or when you were, out with your colleagues until late. But you cannot say, I've lost 6, I've recovered 6. That is maybe the most important message. You can sleep a little bit longer at the weekend if you can, and try to balance things off for yourself. And there is a benefit of doing that. However, unfortunately, many people can't do that. They get into a rhythm of, sleeping from, let's say, 10 to 6. And even though they don't have anything to do on the Saturday, they still wake up at 6, and it becomes more frustrating because they say, oh, but I lost last night and I wanted to sleep until 9. And they actually can make themselves quite angry with themselves because they didn't sleep more. So whilst it's a benefit to catch up on sleep, as we just described, if you cannot, I wouldn't want you to feel frustrated about it. I would like you to think that your body knows how to sleep. We do it naturally. And that you can fall asleep, earlier, maybe the next night, and do your catch up, if you like, over a few more nights. And if you cannot do that, and if you are struggling with sleep on a more regular basis, try to reach out for help. Speak to your GP, speak to a colleague, a friend, a therapist.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been really, really awesome. I'm just sharing my slides now. I am not sure if you can see them yet. Let me just go back here. Yeah, I just wanted to share that and thank Denise for this amazing conversation. I think it is super, super important. And if you'd like to go and watch the replay and get some more key takeaways or work with Denise, then do join us because we've created an amazing space where we all come together. There's lots of different experts inside the EmpowerMe Hub. And I just wanted to take a moment to explain what it is and how you can join us. And I think we kind of already talked about some of these things that came through very clearly in your presentation, Denise, that whole humans encounter stress, burnout, and all these other things, frustration. We're battling toxic cultures, politics, and we just need a place. And this is what we've created, why we've created the EmpowerMe Hub, because we know all of these things impact so heavily on performance, work, and home lives, friends, family. It has a complete ripple effect. And so we've created the EmpowerMe Hub, which is a membership, which at the moment you can get a monthly subscription or an annual subscription. And we really believe that every human being wants to do something meaningful, deserves the opportunity to grow and have a purpose in life. And so all of the different experts, including Denise, are part and parcel of the hub. You can also work further with Denise, with other people in there as well who do things like leadership, for example. We've created a holistic training hub basically to enable your growth when it comes to not only career, but also well-being and home life. It is a fun and interactive and also an implementation-oriented space. And when you get started, we'll actually give you a clear pathway. We'll help you assess your goals and your priorities so that you can actually create your own first 90-day roadmap, and we'll help you create your next 90-day roadmap and so on. So it's really, really, functional. And with my background in leadership and being in leadership myself and as a consultant, I've seen so many trainings that just don't work. It's just a tick box exercise or it's a one-off thing. This is really a journey. We're going on a journey together. And I think we do need more than just a one-off thing. We need continuous support. We need a place where we can have those conversations, where we can be open with each other and support each other and then take the next step and the next step, right? So, and also the great thing is you are actually in control of your career because you can take this if you come in as an individual, or we also have team and organizational memberships available. So we can obviously have a conversation. We'd love to have a conversation with you. We also provide workshops and team training as well. So there's so many things that we can help with, and we're so flexible. Of course, shared experiences in the community of peers and experts is the most valuable, because quite often, if you do a training, you don't have access to the speaker afterwards. You can't go back and ask questions, whereas we have this opportunity. Denise inside the EmpowerMe Hub herself, and she is answering questions. We have also live training available every so often to make it, more interactive. So here are all the different things that we help. So we've got career, well-being, leadership in there, work life, home life as well. The community itself, there's a tab there, and you can network, ask Q&As, peer support, accountability. So there's always something happening inside the hub. It's not a social media platform, so it is a safe place. You can just come and either you can come and share and have a conversation, or you can just read. Sometimes people just want to be in the background and read, and that's fine as well, because we want to be vulnerable. We want to create that safe space and want to make sure that you get the support that you need. We have the calendar. So here are all the live events listed.
Just a second, Sabine. Yeah. I don't know if it's just me, but I can't see the calendar, the slide with the calendar.
Okay. So you saw the other. Okay. Did you see the others? The other slides? I'm not even sure now.
I saw, I think 2 of them, but I'm not sure if you were flipping through many.
Yeah, I was going through this one, which is the community, which is the calendar, which we have here. And then we have the classroom as well. And to get started, you can get a free 7-day free trial now, because sometimes we don't know what we get. We may want to look on the inside, have a look around, browse around. You can catch up with Denise's presentation as well, and go through a 7-day quest that we've created. And then, if you're ready, come and join. Here is a QR code. Here is Denise's affiliate link. She is inside the group as well. She will be able to answer questions and support you, whatever comes along. And we're always flexible, asking members what they want to see. And here is a bit more around the classroom and what you will get. So maybe you haven't seen this slide, because I was actually going through quite a number of slides, which is quite frustrating sometimes with technology. It doesn't share what we wanted.
What you wanted to share. But we're not going to lose any sleep over it.
No, absolutely not. So thank you so much. And we'll close the presentation for today. Any more questions, we'll come and respond on the stream. And hopefully we'll see you inside the EmpowerMe Hub. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you all. Have a beautiful day.